Three mere mortals discover their ability to create entire universes with their minds alone. Upon discovering their abilities, these three, gods if you will, join forces to create the Dark and Stormy Nights, a supercharged team of creatives with the aim of helping artists and writers around the world while combating the forces of boredom and mundanity. They are the Dark and Stormy Nights.
Lords and ladies, it's the Dark and Stormy Nights, and this is Loki.
This is Tyr.
And Odin.
And we are back to, I don't know, possibly wrap up our story, right?
I think so.
Or at least a rough draft of it.
Right.
I mean,
right.
we're going to go on.
Oh,
and
yes,
edit
there's
it and
plenty
everything
more
like
work
that.
to be done.
Yeah, tons of work.
You'll just get the highlights.
And if you're anybody special in the writing world, an editor, a publisher, an agent, just somebody really smart.
Beta readers,
yeah.
I don't know, maybe.
We might be able to use your help in these coming weeks as we explore the next part of our process. Now, we're not going to necessarily explore everything on the air, but we would like some professional advice on where to go from here. So let us know. All right, Odin, tell us where we've been and where we're going.
Or even unprofessional advice, truly.
That's true. Well, if you bring beer, we might just call you professional. So.
You know, some experience of ramming your head against the wall of publishing.
Right. So, okay, Odin, where have we been?
We are on episode 41, chapter 27.
Where were we?
Oh, you mean what happened in my chapter? Okay. Well, it was the second half of combat after Tyr basically introduced the undead. I followed up with that. Battle ensued. Whole lot of, telekinetic storm-like attacks. Police arrive. Violence. Let's see. Desmond erects a wall, starts rebuilding the device, and Jennifer turns on him, betrays him, and everything comes to an end. He gets knocked unconscious and assumedly arrested.
We don't know anything after he gets knocked out, right?
Yeah, I think it ended with him being knocked out, right?
She ran off with
Jennifer
his staff
took off.
wand.
She got with staff. Do we know what happened to the book at that point?
Meredith?
He still has it clutched in his hands.
But he's out.
Yeah.
Well, here's the problem, and I just realized just now I did not make mention of where it went.
I assumed that
We'll squeeze it back in there.
the
That's what
group
she
would
said.
have commandeered it before the police took notice.
I didn't say. Maybe we should put it back in there. Maybe it should be a mystery. I don't know. Maybe this is a post-credit sequence where the wind is blowing the dust off the cover of the book and a child comes by and picks it off from the ground.
I mean, 2/3 of the police.
Why is a child walking through a disaster area?
His eyes glow red.
A demon child?
I don't know.
It's Tedrick.
It's Linda.
Well, as I was saying, it would be
Cannot
easy to
be
accomplish
killed.
because 2/3 of the police were either murdered or ran off.
Okay. So, do we have anything to say, or should I jump right into this?
Go for it.
Well, at least somebody is on the ball.
Yes.
I see. It's a good thing we have Tyr
One out of
around.
3 of us happen to remember timer from
It's
time
a
to
good
time.
thing we have Tyr around to pull all of our weight for us. So, all right, let's see. I'm going to try it. Nope, not working. Okay, great. I forgot I'm in the wrong program, so this might be a little choppy as I lose my place a lot.
Awesome.
Wrong program?
Yeah, I used a different one last time that was allowed me to zoom in better and everything.
Okay.
So I keep jumping around trying to get a better feel for what I'm going to use, and of course this Google Docs was just slightly more limited than one I used last time.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, here we go. A searing pain rocks Desmond's skull, and his power is unleashed. An explosion of blue light with Desmond at its epicenter rocks the brewery. A windstorm flows. The ring of blue. A windstorm follows the ring of blue light, and all present are thrown against the surrounding walls and subsequently battered with debris kicked up off the ground. The flesh is almost comically stripped from the bones of Mary and her henchmen, all but Dale the pig, who seems to regenerate as he is pelted by the onslaught. The mystical energy with him welling up under the trauma. Dale drags himself across the ground towards Desmond. He fights the wind with all of his might and with little hope of ever reaching his destination. In a smooth, dark Latin voice, Dale shouts at Desmond through the maelstrom, "I will kill you for what you have done to my friends, and most importantly, what you have done to my love, Zara. Desmond belted out a laugh. Ha! You will die like your friends as soon as I learn to suck the last bit of power from your bones. Perhaps I will just cook you in a nice brown sugar glaze and take it out of you the old-fashioned way. Jennifer is levitated into Desmond's line of sight. See the havoc you have caused me to unleash? Do you see the carnage you have coaxed me into, woman? Jennifer struggles against Desmond's power to no avail. With both hands, he draws Jennifer and Dale together and binds them by bending steel rebar from the walls around them with his power. As he contorts the gestures of his hands, the rebar bends around the hostages. Spotting the Book of Solomon on the ground, he draws it to him. The book opens as it approaches. The familiar fleshy tentacles bathed in a blue glow begin to flow from the book. Desmond's reaction turns to one of horror. He attempts to cast it away with his power, but fails to exert any control whatsoever. He swats at it with his staff, but just passes through it as he tries to. He runs, but the book begins to suck in everything, including Desmond. He grips a small piece of the wall that has been left standing, but his body no longer touches the ground. As the amazing, vacuous force pulls at him, he tries to summon any power and fails to find an ounce within him. He hears Linda's gurgly, bubbly voice once again, like a warped record on varying speeds with a chorus that repeats its words. Did you think you would escape me? Did you really think you could ever wield my power without calling me back? Did you really think you were worthy? Did you really think you could win? I have seen the inside of that pathetic, weak psyche of yours. I know you better than you know yourself. I know what you would do all along, and all I had to do was wait. You are my pawn, just like you were the pawn of that priest before me. I own you, Desmond. Don't you forget that. I have I have now come to claim my prize. Just let go. Let go, fool, and I will rule the world, and you can serve me. Let go, pawn. Come home to me, and the nightmare ends, and we will rule the world, a god and its husk. Let go. Desmond lets go, in part from exhaustion, in part from dark curiosity. Crack! Desmond wakes to a sharp pain in his skull as his head struck against the door frame of the paddy wagon. He howls in pain. Careful, Seamus, careful. We don't want his eggs to be scrambled before he gets to where he's going. We want him all too aware of what he's getting for what he's done to the boys. He'll be plenty scrambled after a bit of the old Queen's justice, if you know what I mean. Everybody knows what you mean, Mike. We're going to beat him senseless. We get it. I'm beginning to think you don't find me funny, Seamus. What would give you that idea, Mike? Is it that nobody laughs at your jokes? Easy, Seamus. Them's my feelings you're using excessive force on. Oh, Mike, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. Really, Seamus? No, Mike, you're literally the worst. I don't think I like your tone, Seamus. For God's sake, would you idiots close the door or kill me or something? Desmond shouts at the two bobbies as they bicker. Simultaneously, the bobbies tell Desmond to shut up, shut it, and then slam the door as hard as they can, rocking the paddy wagon and aggravating Desmond's headache further. He grimaces and growls over the pain and his situation. Was that a dream or reality? Is he in Linda's plan? Its mind a different reality? What had happened and how did he get here? Desmond was so confused. He closed his eyes and called for Linda in his thoughts, but nothing. He received no answer. He was alone, at least for the moment. Okay, so that's my breaking point.
Okay.
What do you think so far? Is it confusing?
Well, at first I'm like, what is this silly nonsense that's not following at all what we were doing? And I'm like, it's got to be a dream. Please tell me it's a dream. Okay, it's a dream.
Okay, but I did want it to be slightly...
No, it did confuse me for a minute, too. Yeah. And then it wasn't until you're like, and my computer is frozen, so I wouldn't even follow you at the end. But when you said he slammed his head into the whatever, the wagon or whatever, and I'm like, wait, what the hell just happened? And then I realized,
Was that followable though?
It was
Yeah.
literally like ditzy enough for
You
it.
got
it
that we
took me
jumped
that
out of the
long.
dream at that point. I was a little afraid that like, you know, that people would be like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah, that they wouldn't get it.
Yeah.
No, it did take me longer than it should have, probably.
All right. What do you think of
Um,
Mike and Seamus?
I liked Mike and Seamus.
I had no problems with them.
That
They were
was my
fine.
kid's favorite part. He
It
loves
was
Mike
funny.
and Seamus. So, he's like, you're literally the worst.
It might be funnier if we do use it as a running gag and introduce them at 2 other points earlier in the story as just like bit characters in the background.
Like bringing police in earlier.
You know, like they're walking by or doing something. Anytime they're breaking
And
into
he
a
has
thing.
like bad jokes, like dad jokes or something.
And, you know, I felt it was a continuation of. I realized they're completely different characters.
It sounded like the minion or the
Right.
the tentacle puppet.
Right.
people.
I was starting to think maybe that's what NPCs talk like.
What?
Non-player characters. They're not part of
Oh.
the story. Yeah.
I wasn't down with the lingo there.
Yeah, the guy who stands in front of you right in the doorway and refuses to move when you need to finish a quest.
Right.
When you're in the middle of a store and don't want to be trapped there for all of eternity and is impenetrable. Yeah, those people.
So far so good.
Yeah, I thought it was good.
Okay. Would you change anything? Is there?
No, I don't think anything needs to be changed. Once I caught up with what was actually happening, like I thought, like because I was at first I was like, wait, what the hell's happening? We're gonna have to like merge something.
Well, it's
here.
a fade in. So, you know, because it's bringing us into the character from the point of his unconsciousness. It's unnecessary but fun piece of whatever transition.
Was it fun?
No, I liked it. Yes, I thought.
But-
it
Was the Dale thing too much?
the Dale thing
Well, only if he actually is that way. Like,
Yeah,
how
but
would he
no,
know
was
that he's Antonio
dreaming. He
Banderas?
was
Like,
dreaming, so like anything goes. It's kind of perfect.
Yeah. The only thing I questioned was the fact that Desmond doesn't question it at all.
Is he a
no,
werebore when he says this, or is he human?
Okay, for a
didn't
story
say.
continuity,
Maybe I
I
like
think we need
if
to
you saw it in a movie,
decipher.
you might be like, why doesn't he question it? But anybody who's actually experienced remembering their dreams,
Yeah,
or
you know
worked
you
with
don't
lucid
question
dreaming,
the crazy stuff.
your brain's weird because when you're asleep, yeah, everything is that's exactly how reality is. What are you talking about? Whatever you're presented is real.
All right. Do we have enough time for another segment?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I think this is a little longer than it needed to be, this next section, but I kind of wanted to wrap everything up for all of the crew, and that's what this part's about. Is kind of like what's going to happen for all of them. And it's not as funny or anything. It's probably a little more, you know, don't stop believing at the end of the night of a wedding or something like that, you know. I don't
Mhm.
know.
Gratuitous.
Yeah, it's not.
I was
I know.
actually making fun of the song more than the
It's a
need to put
great
this in here.
song.
It is an amazing song, yeah.
Unfortunately, way overdone.
Oh, sure, yeah, but anything fun is eventually.
Yeah.
All right, so feet away from the paddy wagon, one of the senior officers is interviewed by a reporter fresh on the scene. He spins a tale of heroism that favors the London Metropolitan Police as a crack team of professionals that arrived on the scene, took control of the situation, and reduced casualties, giving no mention of the true team of heroes who quietly walk by the interviewer, huddled together, arms around one another in gratitude that they had all made it, all but Crow, of course. The tone saddened momentarily as Mary rushed over and checked over Crow's limp, lifeless body, and then to his lantern, which held the faintest flame one could perceive. Mary scooped up Crow's staff, and Philip scooped up the body. Together they walked over to the Union Bar just down the street. The barman, who had witnessed much of the event while praying his establishment would be spared, opened the door for them and welcomed them. The band of friends spread Crow across the bar and had drinks while sharing some kind words about him. The barman begins to sing a somber Irish song about a fallen hero, and the bar soon follows. The sway and harmony as the tune rolls on. Karen and Poppy arrive in confusion, but stop to pay respects as they spot Crow's body. Drinks are poured, and they join the hymn and sway along with their friends. One cannot help but know that this is what a family is. Karen knows that her comrades are forever changed, and she glances across them. The vision of a demon spot the subtle scars left on the soul, and she sees these scars on every one of them. Poppy and Karen take a place near Zara, who leaned against the bar by herself until now. Zara looks to her two friends and then across the rest of her adopted family as the song comes to an end, and the barman rests the keys of the piano and trades his song for a beer. Zara chimes in, cracking the only recently purchased silence with, "I'm joining the bureau." All remain silent, but their attention is drawn. Robert speaks first. "Are you sure? Is this what you really want?" "It is," Zara returns, with little hesitation. Mary looks to Robert as she answers for him. "Then we back your decision, darling. But your home is forever with us." Robert finishes a sentiment. "You will always be welcome. Your room will remain yours." "I appreciate all you have done for me," Zara begins to tear up, but forces herself stern before a single drop can be produced. "Oh, honey," Karen interrupts. This is a time for emotion. Holding it in will kill you if you don't allow yourself to feel. I mean, look, even Hammond's crying." Everyone breaks their concentration to look, and sure enough, there in the corner and piss drunk are Hammond and Dale, crying and whispering the Irish tune. Well, Hammond whispers the tune while Dale snorts the syllables. Noticing the attention, Hammond smiles an enormous bearded grin and says, "Me and old Piggo are gonna reopen me shop, if y'all don't mind. I'll even give you me friends and family discount, 3% off." "I like it," Poppy chimes in. "Karen and I will give you the same discount at our home beauty products business." Wilhelm starts to get panicky and flush. His cheeks turn red, and he is hyperventilating. "Are you okay, Wilhelm?" He's overwhelmed by all the change, Mary, and worried he and I moving in together might be too much to add to the pile. "Nonsense," Mary returns. "The two of you are perfect together. Not to mention, Wilhelm, you will hardly have time to think of all the changes because if Robert will have me," she kneels in front of Robert and presents his wedding ring to him. "I'd love for Wilhelm to be our wedding planner." "What is this?" Robert asks in surprise. "I, Mary, would like you, Robert, to marry me. Again." "But Mary, we're already married." "No, we're not. You died, remember? You're literally a new man." "Well, of course I'll marry you." Everyone cheers and laughs, and all that is, with the exception of Wilhelm, who begins to hyperventilate, and almost unnoticed until he falls over with a thud. And that did just what I said it would do. Poppy and Philip sits Wilhelm up in a chair. Poppy gives him a potion which revives him. Wilhelm rouses slowly while Philip cares for him. Philip recognizes the event as one part sorrowful occasion, one part celebration, and wishes for Wilhelm to enjoy it. The event continues on throughout the night. These friends live up these last moments before their lives are changed once again. They laugh and cry and hug and tell stories of remembrance and reverence. They express their adoration and admiration for each other. Bonds are built and walls are broken. Petty grievances are laid to rest, and forgiveness and closure are had and recognized as the rare, precious things they are. They drink and eat and sing as a family that understands that occasions like this one, will become rare after this evening. All in attendance fear the end of this night. The uncertainty tomorrow will bring is now an unwelcome guest that they all must greet. Mary, taking stock of the scenario, like she is so good at, notices the look of exhaustion on the barman's face, the total drunkenness of Hammond, Dale already asleep in the corner, the stress that Wilhelm wears, Poppy, Zara, and Karen, who have settled to a buzzed stupor, and her love, who could definitely use her loving embrace, and she decides to call the night to a close. They share one more drunken group hug before paying their tab and walking home. Okay, that's the end of the second part.
Okay, I think we should stop for our break and then come back with the comments.
Sounds good. We'll do that.
Dear listener, we accept that we had to sacrifice the whole Saturday for your entertainment, but we think you'd be crazy to miss an episode of The Dark and Stormy Nights. The world sees writers as they want to see them, in the simplest terms and the most convenient definitions. But what we found out is that each of us is a brain
And a dreamer.
And a creator.
and a basket case.
A researcher.
And a comedian.
Does that answer your question? Sincerely yours, The Dark and Stormy Nights.
Listen to Dark and Stormy.
Okay, so we're back from that break.
Now, what about the hidden stinger? Did you have that in there or no?
There's a whole third part to this.
Okay, there is a third
But
part.
that's back to Desmond.
Okay.
Was
so,
there something that I missed
no.
for the team?
No, not really, but there was a few comments I had.
Okay, go for it.
I thought you did a really good job of where they would go. Zara is always been a little bit on her own, a little out of place, and her everyone coupling up is making her feel even weirder, happy, but also sad for herself. I could see her doing something drastic and different.
So joining the Bureau seems natural?
Yes. I thought there was a lot of good natural writing in that. But the only two comments was, because you said you wanted a little more humor, you said a sad Irish song. They're all sad. Maybe comment on that.
Oh. There I am.
You know, as the Dennis Leary joke, you know, they have no heads.
Well,
There actually is some songs like that. It's pretty messed up.
They have
Yeah,
no
it's a depressing
heads.
history. And the other thing is that you had Wilhelm as the wedding planner, and my first thought was like, ooh, because he's the gay guy, and then I thought about, I'm like, no, he's the natural romantic. He's the sappiest one
Well,
in
it's
the group.
not just that, but he is the most organized and meticulous.
Maybe call that out just so the reader doesn't take the wrong note from that. That's all I was saying.
I mean, it certainly wouldn't be.
I had to think it over because my first instinct was like, that might be the wrong way to go.
Tier?
I mean, I wasn't offended by it. I kind of saw it as he's the organized one.
Right.
But
That's where I was
mean-
going with
Maybe
it.
it's just me. I don't know.
No, I mean, you're not wrong. Somebody looking to take offense might take offense. You know,
But yeah, I think he's the most romantic. Like, you have the biggest romance with the whole Robert,
he's
whatever
he's the soft
couple, but
one, you know, and he's
Exactly.
the organized one, and he's the researcher.
he's the most
you know?
emotional one.
But yeah,
Yeah,
I was
you
going
certainly
for
wouldn't want Zara to do it.
because
Right.
I was going for because he's the most organized and
Okay. But yeah, I don't know. I maybe just qualify that. I don't know. Maybe if it doesn't make it clunky.
No, it might not be a bad idea if to put it that way. I
But
guess.
beyond that, no, I was like,
I
oh,
thought it was really good too.
okay, I can see that. That makes sense.
And it does have this almost melancholy, like the group's breaking up, and yet we know that they can easily be all pulled right back together. You know.
right. Yeah, nobody's
so-
going far. You know,
Right,
they're just
right.
not sharing the brownstone anymore.
For now, right? But yeah, it's definitely got that, like, okay, that ending feeling, you know, like things are coming to a close, like things are changing, like this is the end of their story. But then you also have that little bit of open-endedness at the end that kind of pulls you back out of that. Like, wait a minute, you know. So I think that's perfect. The way that you did this part will make the next part all that more like, well, wait a minute, if the team's not there anymore, who's going to stop this, you know?
Right.
So I think that's perfect. And it was put together very well.
Really?
Yeah.
I was a little worried about it.
No, the only thing
No, I
that
like
we're
that part a
going
lot.
to definitely have to do is kind of because I mean, most of your chapters are all in present tense, so I mean, we kind of have to buff that stuff out. But otherwise, it's really good.
Or we could just write the whole thing in present tense.
That's a lot of rewriting.
Well, that's
I do have
a
a
good
bad
question.
habit of present
Like,
tense.
is one
did it
preferred
once
to the
too.
other?
What? Yes,
I
actually,
write past a lot, and I
write
Past is the preferred.
everybody writes past more, but there are people who really have a problem with present tense. The thing is, I read so many books and so many different books that I can switch between the tenses.
Is
pretty
present
okay.
largely just for first person? Or?
You know what I think it is, though, is my mind
I
is
think more so.
my mind is present tense. So as I'm writing, this stuff is happening in my head.
No, I
right?
get that.
And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to describe a scenario that's actually going on in my head. So this, when I wrote this, the group was in this bar, like I'm envisioning them.
No, I know
right?
how it works.
And I'm trying to find the best way to describe the scene as it's happening.
Right, but you're
As
thinking movie, not orator.
It's happening. Yeah, it's
So if
kinda
you were a
like watching-
storyteller in a bar talking about an event that happened, because you're the narrator and
well,
not
I think
a
it'd be
character in
different
the
if
story.
the event actually happened previous to me writing it,
See, for
rather than
me,
it happening as I'm writing it.
I noticed that at the one point, there's one chapter in here that I wrote where the first section of it is in present tense, and it's because I had read like a couple of present tense books back to back, and so like I picked that up and started
Yeah.
writing in that tense.
Yeah,
And like I didn't even realize it until I was reading it, and I'm like, oh shit.
I guess it is written
I have
kind
to go
of.
back and change it because I was not paying attention.
You know, it's kind of like narrating a movie that's happening or something like that. You know, you're seeing it in progress, you know, or what have you, rather than telling a story that happened. But I guess this was in the early 1900s, so it wouldn't be present
I
tense.
find it so funny that, and like I said, maybe it's because I read so many books that are so different, but I just find it so funny how people like get so stuck on their preference that and they won't read anything else. Like it's so crazy to me. And like not just like your tenses or your first person, third person, but like the people who are like, I won't read anything that has a prologue. Like, do you know the amazing books you're missing out on because you won't read anything with a prologue or anything that's
I
in
mean, I
first
like to
person?
jump right in, but I don't mind a prologue. I mean,
Okay, here's my thing: is yes, there are some prologues that are like
exposition heavy.
yeah, and you know
Yeah.
what? That is what it is.
That's
If
a
you
Star
really
Wars
don't-
crawl.
If you don't think you need it,
Is
skip
it fair though? Okay, so in the sci-fi book I'm writing, I have one chapter of the same boys that are later in the story, right?
Right.
But it's 5 years earlier. You know what I'm saying? An event happens that triggers something that
I did that one in one of mine too.
and
Yeah, but that's a cinematic, not an exposition dump.
it's technically well.
that's my
No, there is
point,
some
though.
exposition in it, but it's why did they end up going down the path they went down? The one boy joined the military because of a terrorist
the
attack
thing.
that happened when he
If
was
there wasn't something in your prologue that was required for the story, you wouldn't have put it in there.
right.
You know,
It's just
So-
it's not it's
Well,
not
there's
just like every other chapter that's in your book, it's just that prologue is usually out of place.
the rest of my story
So that's
is
my thing.
temporally, aligned, right? And
Right.
this is much earlier. So
and that's I've done that in one of mine too, and I actually love the prologue, and it's not going anywhere. And because
Right.
I'm an asshole, I'm kind of tempted to dedicate that book to everybody who hates prologues. But anyway, like the
I
point.
think if I ever have a book that doesn't need a prologue, though, I might just put prologue, 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 prologue.
like for every chapter.
All I was going to say on this is that it's like your past present thing. There's preferences, there are standards,
Sure, there
or
are.
whatever.
But are you so
and some-
rigid with your
No.
preferences?
Wh-
Like
I-
that's what I'm
just-
saying.
what I'm saying is that if it serves your story and it's good,
Do
then
it.
all is
Yeah.
forgivable. If it doesn't, or it's because you're being lazy or don't know how to do better, challenge yourself and try better. Because there are different ways to phrase
That's
things.
all
There
well
are
and
different
good.
ways to go about things.
And
And,
I'm sure-
your first take may not be the one you want.
Right, and you're not wrong. But the point is not that people write prologues, because for me, like I've read some amazing prologues. I've met some great stories that had prologues. And my point is just that these people who are so anti-prologue that they will open a book, see a prologue, and not read it because the word prologue is in there, like you're missing
There's
out.
a bunch of
Like,
narrow-minded
that's crazy to me.
literary snobbery that I
Yeah,
think keep a lot of
it's-
people
yeah,
from
it's
enjoying
elitist.
things.
I get why people feel like this, but I've read a lot of academic stuff that's extremely dry. So I have a tendency to read from beginning to end, regardless how much it bores me if I think it's going to get better somewhere down the line. So I've read a lot of prologues that stunk, but it helped me get to where I wanted to in the story, so I forgave it. But I don't know if everybody else feels the same way or is willing
Well,
to put
no,
in
the argument is that the prologue
to get
shouldn't
there.
be there because if it's story, just put it in the story. Otherwise it's an exposition
At which
dump.
point makes it not different at all. It's the same piece of story in the book. It's just labeled
Is it different
differently.
if I call my prologue chapter 0?
Exactly. Is it different if you call it chapter
Well,
1?
here's
That's
the
the
thing.
point.
What
it
is a
why does it
prologue?
matter if it says prologue on it? If it's required for the story, it's required for the
It
story.
is a professional
Why
piece
do
of
we
wood.
give half a fuck if it says prologue on it,
Well,
or if it says chapter 1 or chapter 20 or whatever?
Right.
It
What I
is?
was saying is that if there's a step between 8 and 1 in the story circle, that might well be prologue, because your 1 is like expressing a need, I believe, if I remember this circle in my head. so your prologue might be not jumping straight in the action. It doesn't go straight into the explosion. Doesn't express that need. They don't have that Disney song that brings everything to happen.
Well, sometimes there's a call to action before there's a call to action. Okay, later on there will be a big event that draws
a
you into
tipping
the story.
domino before it gets to the character.
But that's the thing. This is in the case of my story, it is the thing that set them down the path to be where they end up. You know what I'm saying? It's not the thing that calls them to battle.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. A prologue might just be that.
Right. So, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't quite fit the rest of the story because it's not chronologically
Yeah,
close.
that's what I feel. Like if your prologue is a scene that's needed for the story, like it's your inciting incident even, or something like like something early on that your call to action, like you called it. Like if that happens before the onset of the story, like it needs to be there. If it's not right next to the rest of your story, then why does it matter if you put it in as a prologue, or if the same fucking thing is somewhere down the line in Backflash? Why does it matter?
Or there are times where the hero is called to action and he ignores it, right? And then later
refusal
on,
to call.
And you
and
get
then
pulled
later
into it
on
anyway.
gets pulled into it anyways,
Right.
right? The prologue could be that first refusal, where it's literally like,
So that's the point.
just a
Is
fuck
there's
you, and
8
then-
million different ways to do a prologue, and I don't know how we got on this rant, but
Well,
but
all I
the
was
point
going to say
is
is
that to rule out a book or to like not even read a book just because
No,
the word
it's stupid.
prologue's in there, that's crazy to me.
Right.
all I was going to say was now I forgot it. Damn it.
Oh,
good.
sorry.
all right.
God, I hate that. I really do. Oh man.
All right, are we ready for me to read this last part?
I guess.
Or do you have it? Do you have it?
Well,
Do you have it?
I swear, it was like right on
Is
the
it
tip
there?
of my mind.
He did until you said, "Do you have it?"
Yes, it kind of felt like you drove it out. It really did. No, that's what I was gonna say. I'm against blanket rules.
Oh,
The fact
me
is
too.
that if you can do it and it's good, and not that you think it's good, but it genuinely is good, someone else besides you thinks it's good.
Fuck 'em.
I'm not saying the world at public at large or even your significant other is only reading it because you're forcing them to. I'm saying is like just an honest opinion. If there's anybody else out there who's like, yeah, okay, that makes sense, or I like that, then it's justifiable. If you can sell it, it's justifiable.
Sure.
The rules are only there to help you get a good product.
Rules are only there to break them. Fuck them. Let's go.
Yep, that's right. Punk rock. All right. I'm going to read this last portion,
All right.
and then you guys can tear it apart. So, all right, let's see. Where was I? Unbeknownst to Mary or any of her friends, just streets away, as their celebration comes to an end, the paddy wagon carrying Desmond rocks and rumbles down the road, tossing him in about its compartment. Desmond imagined that the driver was purposely torturing him for the death of his co-workers. Filthy peasants and their strange loyalties being what they are. He sneers and huffs until his patience has reached its end. I say, my friend, I will pay you to miss a few bumps. Silence. No answer. Nothing. And worse, the driver hits the deepest, hardest hole he has yet, sending Desmond's head slamming into the roof of the wagon. Desmond's teeth gnash, and he lets out a growl and quickly calms himself. A man of principles, I see. Surely you have your price. Still not a word is returned. The coach rocks on down the street. The only sound that of hooves and wheels upon cobblestone, and the sound of Desmond's own heart beating in his throat. Come now, my friend. I must have something you want. Money, Desmond spoke, pausing long enough to listen for anything, a word, a change in breathing, anything at all. What about power? Another shorter pause. Influence, a still shorter pause. Women, almost no pause at all. Okay, I see you're a tough customer. I will trade you my estate for my freedom. The coachman remained silent. The coach rolled on, and the sweat began to roll down Desmond's brow as he thought about how close they must be getting to his last stop, the place where they would surely beat him to death for what he had done to their friends. Okay, my friend, I have one last offer. I will trade you my entire fortune for my freedom. All you need to do is turn this coach around. I live at 4200 Biltmore in the Carrington Cottages district. All you need to do is turn right around and take us there, and my entire fortune is yours. What say you? No change. The carriage continued on, and Desmond lost his hope. He sank down on the bench seat, defeated. The only change effected being that he hardly noticed the the rough ride to his doom. Wait, Desmond thought. Are we slowing? He perked up a moment. He tried to peer through the bars of the wagon to try and catch his bearings. Where were we, he thought. It was a smoky industrial part of town, dirty and worn, but completely unfamiliar. The coach slowed to a stop. I see, he thought. They brought me to an industrial area so nobody would report the screams. The rear door of the coach opened. A motor coach faced the back of the paddy wagon, headlights on and focused at Desmond, effectively blinding him. He could make out one figure, either heavy-set or wearing a lot of clothing. A voice taunted him. Come on, shitheel, we're waiting, eh? He recognized the voice, or at least he had heard it before. Was it someone he knew, or was it one of the bobbies who had taken him in? Come on, the voice taunts again. Desmond latches onto the bars of the coach, being in no hurry to meet his end. You'll have to drag me out, Desmond declares. I'm gonna beat you off. 3 distinct voices burst into laughter. Boy, I bet you are. Another familiar voice chimes. Desmond tries to get another good look at the men. Caleb, is that you? Desmond says as he released the bars of the coach. Here you go, boss, just like I said. Whatever are you talking about? We didn't... Caleb cuts Desmond off. Oi, not you, boss. This boss. Desmond can only make out the shadow image of the larger man, motioning in the direction of the headlamps as another man steps into visibility. My lord, you have buggered this up, haven't you, boy? Another familiar voice addresses. Mr. Talbot, Desmond inquires as the bishop suddenly becomes visible. Indeed. Are those... Desmond pauses for a moment. Footy pajamas? That's the end.
Okay. I like the way it ended.
You like footy pajamas?
Yeah, it was entertaining. But it did feel like you're going for laughs, and I feel this is frightening and dark. It should be filled with fear and dread. I don't think
I didn't paint any fear or dread in
no,
there.
my
as
point
he
is
like
that
sweating and
I
his
don't
heart's
think
beating.
Caleb should have ever talked to him. I think he should have been like Death in Scrooge. You know,
He wasn't talking to him at all.
Well, you said not you, boss. The old boss.
He was talking to
Talbot.
Only Talbot, because it sounded like he addressed Desmond at one when
I mean, he kind of did.
That's what I'm saying.
He corrected him.
That's not... honestly, I thought most of this was really good. I don't know that I could have done as good of a job with it. My only thing is I feel the flash of recognition when he sees Talbot. I think we need that in there.
I mean, he knows who Talbot is, right?
He didn't know his name, other than...
I mean, he did advertise himself in the air.
Talbot putting himself out there, but Desmond never saw it. Do you remember? He would have recognized him.
I don't know. I mean, that's a lot of advertisement.
Maybe you say Bishop instead of Talbot, or...
I think that we don't even need to address his name. I think he needs to see his face. We'll mention, like, his eyes. Desmond takes in the man, too familiar.
Okay.
Like a flash of every time he's seen him in his life. You know, some way to put the recognition in there for him to go, what the fuck is this? You know?
I totally forgotten. He has all that magical power now and control.
No, he doesn't.
He's drained.
Okay, so
That's why the power's shut off. Otherwise, this whole thing wouldn't even be possible. I keep having to say this. He has no power.
He's
if he
the
had
one
power,
who
this
tried
whole
to
thing's useless.
He put the veil between the two worlds.
That's why nothing can shapeshift, nothing can do any of that stuff. He has no power. Otherwise, the cops aren't going to take him into custody. All he's going to do is just wreak havoc.
But the bottom line, he was out of power anyway. He was drained.
Right. The reason you can't get it back, though, is there is a veil between the worlds.
Okay. I mean, we were talking about the machine only being on briefly, and so it all depends on how we write that.
Right, but with his newfound power, he'd be unstoppable.
Well, that's why I thought maybe he had some kind of special handcuffs on or
So
something.
Right,
something
because the
we have
cops
to-
walk around with those.
That's the
No, but,
Well, no, but Poppy was on her way.
Caleb,
But the bottom line is,
I don't know.
That's true. Talbot might have something.
That's what I was figuring.
We need to watch for this too, because if we're going to reopen that veil at some point in the future, we need to understand that Desmond is a consequence.
Oh, it's gonna come flooding back in.
Right.
Yeah.
Or
Because it's gonna
naturally
fill.
erodes.
It'll fill the void. You know.
Yeah.
You okay?
So yeah, I just crunched my ankle. So I just think that we need to have some sort of, some sort of flash there of
Okay, we can do that. You put a note in.
I can.
A flash of what?
Recognition of
Like,
realization
like,
that
yeah,
he
he
is his
needs that-
tormentor.
Oh fuck moment where he realizes that this is the man who came to him as a child, who showed up again to get rid at his
Yeah.
moment
You know what
of
this is?
need,
This is a sequence in the movie where there are the flash images
that
of
puts
his
it
Yeah,
all
face.
yeah,
together.
But
yeah.
it's like this image, that image, pawn. This image, that image, pawn. This image,
Right,
that image,
exactly.
pawn.
This is
Alright,
the
and it's
the
like,
part
son
where
of
he
a
pieces
bitch.
it all together, and he's like, "Fuck me, I've been groomed for this," or whatever it is.
Right,
Do you
right.
think that he would try to use magic but wouldn't be able to? Just in desperation?
I think he knows that he's drained, or he would.
No,
have
no, I
used
know,
it in
but
the
out of
wagon.
fear, you'd think he'd try and flex a little and
Well, he did try to call to Linda with no.
right. I didn't know if he was calling on Linda, through her power or his own. Okay.
I don't think it matters. So, all right, let's take a break. We'll be back in a little bit.
All right.
Our merchandise brings all the boys to the yard. Go see why on our website at thedarkandstormynights.home.blog.
Welcome back to Puppy Talk, where we talk about puppies.
Okay.
It reminded me of those women from Saturday Night Live.
Yes.
That's what I was going for. Great. It worked. We have Mr. Shveddy here with his Shveddy balls. That was like in my opinion, top tier.
You
Saturday
way
Night Live.
oversold that bit.
Oh no, it was so good.
If
you
I
haven't-
if I saw
seen
it on
Shreddy
its
Balls?
own, I might have found it funnier. But you way oversold it by the time I saw
No,
it.
it's so good. It's the best thing Saturday Night Live's ever done.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. I think.
I like the commercials when they're selling fake products.
Oh my God, the Kate McKinnon stuff where she's talking about the time like she saw Santa Claus or she was abducted by aliens.
Oh yeah.
Nothing beats those. Oh my God.
Okay.
Yes, with her wonderful synonyms for privates.
Jesus Christ, that's hilarious.
Oh God.
So, all right. So we've brought this story to a close effectively. Now we're gonna have to go back and, of course, edit the shit out of it because it needs some serious editing.
Well, Tyr was
That it
talking
does.
about how she liked it ending in the footy pajamas, and I agree. But I was thinking it might be kind of fun if he's in the middle of thought, so there's an internal quote, like, you're hearing his thoughts, and he's like, he's in fears, like, this is the guy who engineered everything. I'm like, he's so screwed, and he's going to murder this guy, and there's all this, and he's like, but then he just forcibly, audibly out loud goes, is that footy pajamas? Like, it just... like he's
That
got this
works.
huge
like you could do
working
your
monologue.
whole like realization, like the images flashing through his head and him putting it all together.
Yeah, he's getting like really angry and realizing that he's been screwed his whole life
right,
and
and then he
taking
takes a
advantage
good
of
look
it.
at the man
Are
who's done
those
this.
footy pajamas?
I think it works.
Like, how can you be mad at somebody wearing footy pajamas? Especially if they have a butt flap.
I was gonna say, do they have like little rubber ducks on them or something? Teddy bears,
Butt flap.
butt flap.
Maybe
course.
they have they're covered in golden crosses.
Everything should have a
Mhm.
butt flap. I think it should look like a priest's outfit.
The Buddy Christ.
Well, I'm actually
Do you
thinking of
remember that?
who's that guy from oh my God. I can't remember the actor, but he played this like charlatan of a priest or deacon, and he had like this whole like cross-shaped swimming pool, and he's floating on a cross-shaped floaty, and
Joel Osteen.
the point is I could just see him in this like this off-white fuzzy
You're
pajamas
literally gonna make me choke to death.
covered
one
in
day.
like golden
We
crosses.
probably lost a few listeners over that one.
Oh, never mind. It was a bad comedy, but yeah, I could totally see that.
No, I was thinking that his footy pajamas look just like a priest's outfit with the little white stripe on the collar and everything.
Oh, you
But
mean
they're
like a tuxedo shirt, but pajamas?
But they're pajamas, yeah. It's exactly
I actually, yeah. Yeah.
priest's robes, but pajamas.
It's been cold. I've been
That's
wearing
kinda
mine.
funny.
So,
I'm looking to get a whole wardrobe
well,
of them.
that's why you wouldn't notice it first. Like, Like at first, it just looks like he's a priest, but then you're like, those are pajamas. So
Now we need to make Dark and Stormy Nights footy pajamas.
we should. You know what? After I finally finish our mascots, I'll have to.
Of the
design
whole
them.
vestments and all that.
Well, I'm having such a hard time drawing this dragon. So I just want a chubby, cute little dragon, you know. And so
I mean, I kind of want one too, but I want a real one.
and then I want a little fat knight, like in full, like all it looks like is armor, really. But you know,
Yeah, but they had that potbelly thing built in.
yeah, I want a chubby little plush knight. Like imagine a knight as a plushie,
I kind of want that.
right? So we have
Like on a little silly chubby horse.
so we have the chubby dragon, the chubby baby dragon, and the little chubby fat knight. So that's what I want. So anybody out there who can draw that stuff, you know, what kinda
So it's gonna crochet one for you.
we're gonna look at. So all right. So where do we go from here? I mean, we've kind of brought the story to a close. I know we're gonna edit and everything like that. We
So much editing.
so if you guys have expert advice for us, of course, hit
Oh
us up.
God, you know what else we have to do besides the editing? We have to name the book,
Oh,
and then we have to name the series.
We are accepting suggestions for the name of the book. Please message us. Feel free to publicly message us.
Yeah, ideally with a word that we can recycle
on
in title
Podbean
after
or
title.
Twitter. What do we? DSK title, hashtag DSK title, so it's easier to.
I feel it should have gear in it, just because it just seems like
No,
a
I'm
word
saying
we
so.
can
So we
recycle.
know that it's like that you're responding about the title. Do like hashtag DSK title. I think we can search it up or something like that. So we can comb through the fields, or just message us. I don't know.
Yeah, truly, they can just message us, but
But Gears of Love.
it's not going to be Gears of Love.
It really does sound like some romance novel.
Well, we also have Pending Peril, a Poltergeist, and a Pocket
If
Watch.
we do Gears of Love, we literally need like the long-haired Fabio and a kilt or something on the cover.
It's an accurate title. It's just
No.
a long title.
No. We have Hammond in a kilt with
Oh.
his pot belly hanging out and everything.
I dig it. I could get behind that.
Dale curled up at his foot, you know.
That's awesome, actually.
Now I'm picturing bagpipe
okay.
flamethrower.
Now we
Holding a flamethrower aloft, yeah.
No,
we
no,
need an
bagpipe
artist for this
flamethrower.
cover now because this is epic. Like, I don't think we can do anything else but this for the cover now. Hammond's hair flowing in the breeze.
His beard flowing in the breeze
Even better.
because he's bald.
Right. I love it. I need it. It
Does he
has
have
to
side
happen.
hair?
I don't think I gave him side hair. He's not Dr. Phil in it. So. But, all right, I don't know.
I
do
love
we
the pig at his foot, though.
do we get together and do next week's show about the process?
So yeah, I think that what we need to do from here is start. Step one is editing. So I think that we all need to kind of come together and come in with our favorite editing tips and our best editing tips, or if you don't have favorite, editing thoughts, then research. So I think that we need to come up with like the most useful things that we find.
And we promise to only put the interesting bits on air. Because that does not sound
well,
interesting.
I say we do. I know.
We let
But
you
I mean,
be
it's
on
also
air,
here's
so.
oh come on. Here's the thing: is that editing might not be interesting, but it also is very much needed, and
Well,
and
yeah, if
it's something that people
useful.
need to know about. So I mean, we can't skip editing. I say we do like 1 or 2.
Right, but we're not
episodes
going to edit the
tops.
whole book on air.
Oh God, no. That would be
You already
torture.
made you listen to it once.
Right.
Right.
No, I think that we should come up with what were our tips or the different like editing parts, I guess. I don't know really how to word this. But then I think we need to find examples within the book, and how to rework it so that it,
I
best
do feel
fits.
we're also going to have transitions. One of the chapters we're totally changing the point of view. There's
Oh, yeah,
be
we're
like
going to
a
have
lot
a
of little
bunch
things
of
to
big
do.
changes. But, yeah. This is normally a part where I delete it.
We're not deleting it.
I'm just saying depression kicks in.
No, I
In
get
the
you.
age of
I feel
computers,
you.
there's really no reason to ever delete. You just move on.
Yeah, because
Yeah, no.
I hate everything I
That's
write.
the thing. It's like you went through it first, right?
It's-
And like
you
as
just
you're
abandon the file folder. That's
as
all.
you're writing it, you're like, this is awesome, I love it. And then like now you go back and you're like, what the fuck did I write?
Yep.
Like it's terrible. I've already done it. I went like When I wrote
What is
that
it? Is
opening
it-
scene, I was like, "Oh, this is cute," and I go back now and I'm like, "This is shit. Like,
have,
why
like-
did I write this?"
I have like post-ritum depression or something.
Right?
Like, it's so
no,
bad
it's true though.
because
like
I want to
you're-
kill my baby.
You go
like-
through your second time and you're like, "Oh."
Was that dark? That was dark, right?
That
Well, I
was-
mean, if
I
it's
mean,
got
a little
webbed toes-
disturbing.
No, it is. It's got no toes. Well, I don't know. Did I write toes? I don't know.
What?
I said if it had webbed toes.
It had webbed toes.
Jesus.
The hills have eyes. So no, I mean I murder everything.
This is
I
why we
write.
don't let you out in public.
I don't know. This is definitely where I would delete the whole thing. I can't even look at
Again,
it.
we're not deleting it.
Like you're like, what's wrong with me? And you just
I don't know.
But everybody goes through that. Like that's why they tell you to walk away for a week or two,
Yeah, I
and then go
can't
back
even
at
look
it with
at it.
fresh ears. Yes, fresh ears.
fresh ears.
Fresh ears for you guys. Fresh eyes for us.
And we're back to the hills have eyes.
Or
I
we-
can hear the
or we're
words
back
on the
to
paper.
Tyr has had too much beer.
Okay, so we'll come back next week with some cookies and some writing tips.
Some
some
editing.
editing
Well, we've
tips.
I
actually
mean,
got a lot of ideas, but it's kind
Well,
of
should
hard
we
to
divvy
say
up? Should
until
we-
we do it.
Can we divvy up like or I'll take a copy of chapter 1 together?
is that what you want to do? You want to start with just all of us take chapter 1 and like come in with different.
Yeah,
like,
we'll come
Yeah.
back next week and we'll talk about things that like definitely need changed and what we should do to go about editing this and stuff like that. At least I don't
Okay.
think this is an every
I don't know
every
that
week
we
thing.
need to keep it to chapter 1. I think that we should just, make sure we take examples from within the book
Yeah.
and say, okay, so this is our editing tip and this is how this works, like actually applied to an actual story segment or something,
So is it cheating if I hire an editor?
I mean, ultimately, you do your first round of editing before you send it to the editor.
Oh yeah.
Otherwise, they hate you.
Yeah, I know they're gonna be like, what the fuck
Yeah,
is
what
this?
is wrong with you?
They're already gonna chop it.
And
in
why
half.
is that chapter near the end that Loki wrote so fabulous?
Finger puppets.
That was the best one, right? Come on, it's the best one.
It might be.
It was amusing. I'll admit that.
Okay.
Next to Dale and his Latin accent.
Was that better?
No, I don't think so.
Well, it's just in a dream sequence, so right now it's not real. Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's not real.
You know what that was? That's gonna be fanfic one day. Like if the show ever like makes it somewhere, someday we're gonna see that fanfic up.
Of Dale
Dale in Dreamland.
in third form wooing Zara with his Antonio Banderas voice.
Third form
I
is
dig
far
it.
more disturbing.
Why? Because then he's half human, half. What do you want?
Yes.
You made
Ugh.
him a little fat naked tripod. How is that not?
He just
I
look-
didn't do the tripod.
like 4
the
feet
tripod wasn't
tall.
me.
in third form. He just looks like Ron Jeremy with tusks.
I don't know that he does. Anyway, he's not. He would. Come on, that's not
God,
intimidating.
Why did you ruin Dale for me? God damn it! I can't get that out of my head now. Oh.
No, let's be
Anyway.
fair. Ron Jeremy is a were-hedgehog, just not the fast kind.
Oh
Not
my
Sonic.
God.
No, not Sanic.
So you know what else we never did is we never figured out where we need to put the little flashback. So right now it's kind of sitting.
The
I've
Flash-
been voting on prologue unless we can find a better place.
It's
Oh,
sitting-
but we hate prologue.
I don't.
There went half
We
our
were just
readers.
discussing it.
Right.
No, but like we have it sitting outside the story right now, so we have to piece that in.
It could also be when Meredith is looking over Robert's sleeping body, and he hasn't yet woken.
Meredith wasn't there.
It's more Zara's flashback.
No.
Zara could be looking over.
Oh,
the body.
that. Yeah. Never mind. I was.
You know what I think we need to
no.
do?
I was talking about. I thought you were talking about that whole like they were stealing, you competing for objects and stuff, and they were leaving love notes and all that stuff.
Oh, that's not in this book.
Well, I
That's
was
Meredith and Robert's backstory.
Right, and
well
I felt-
before he died.
and I felt that could be placed right there where she's like waiting for him to wake
I
up.
don't think it needs to be in the story.
I don't know. It was a touching bit. I think.
Yeah,
it
no,
added.
I think we'll write it. I think we can do it as a hex file or just to put it on the website.
Or
I'll
it could be
write it
something
eventually.
that Mary and Robert talk about in the Philip and Wilhelm book that
That's
we talked
true.
about doing.
Yeah.
I mean,
We
if
could
you want
work
to put
it
in
in
a
there.
sequel, fine, but I wouldn't just use it as extra material to put on websites and stuff because I thought it was good and it was useful for the character development.
But
You know,
It
the
just doesn't
romance.
apply to this
We are
story.
talking about the museum heist scenario.
Where Robert died.
Yeah.
And honestly, now that I think about it, I think probably the best place to fit it in is right before we acknowledge that Robert is a ghost haunting them. Because at first, he's just, like in chapter 2, Dale acknowledges him. But, like, we just brush it off like, well, nobody's talking to the secretary. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
Well, if you put it right before, it's super obvious. Is that what we're going for?
no, I'm saying after that. I'm saying before, maybe before Karen confirms that Robert's hanging out in the house.
Yeah. It should
No.
definitely be before that.
It does have to be before that because even before that, they know that, oh, Robert uses the little fax machine thing to deliver them a message. Do you remember about the pocket watch?
Yes.
Before that.
If it'll fit, yeah.
I don't know that we tack it onto a chapter or make it its own chapter. It's a short little flashback.
I mean, is there a place where the flashback can happen during the chapter?
I don't know that there is. I mean, it's maybe big enough to be a short chapter.
Or a dream that Zara has at some point?
I don't know. It's maybe 1,000 words. I don't know.
I'd have to see the in the rewrite because I mean it's kind of hard to call back to that. I mean, if there's any point where, you know, Zara is by herself thinking about anything or has a moment to herself, then that might fit. But
It's got to be after Wilhelm goes missing, before they go looking. That's where it is.
we didn't split them off right in the beginning that I remember.
What?
There's not a lot of individual character chapters in the
Here it is.
beginning.
It would be in between chapter 5, which is Where's Anonymous,
Right.
and 6, which is where Meredith notices that Wilhelm is missing.
Well, we have to have a reason to put it there. So it's got to be Zara's doing something to
That's why I'm saying it should
Well,
be its
so
own
we could
little
write
chapter.
a Zara chapter. We can just
yeah,
create a
and
new
just
chapter.
make it Zara recalling it or having a dream or something.
Yeah. Or we stick it in the beginning of chapter 6 and then go from the flashback to Meredith paces the hallway. And it fits there because that is a Robert chapter.
Oh, okay.
Well, you can put it there as a placeholder for now, and when we're going through it, we can see how
Can
it
a
looks.
ghost have a
I'll-
flashback?
So what I'll do is I'll just take this little chapter 6 and I will make a little note here.
Why not? They can make
insert-
pottery.
Only with the right music
You never did get your pottery scene.
and moonlight.
Didn't, damn
Insert
it.
flashback question mark question mark.
Yeah, and I forgot about bringing the brownies in for the entropy. I still kind of want to do that. That was kind of a fun callback.
I mean, but this is all stuff that can be done in editing too.
That's what I'm saying. Well, I mean, I made Jennifer's betrayal the downfall, and I still like that, but maybe
I mean,
the
truly
walls
we
don't
don't
fall.
have to bring the brownies back in at this
We don't
point.
need to. I just thought it was humorous, and it was reusing the character. 'Cause-
We also don't know how many of them took off through the veil, and how much effect do they have now that the veil's sealed.
That's true. I don't think they have any effect left.
Hmm.
I mean, before
Which would
the
make them
machine
less
was shut
troublesome to
down,
Hammond. I almost feel like there needs to be a truce between Hammond and this brownie. Like, 'cause
Well,
I can
that
almost
was
see
the whole
him
point
like
of that. Yeah.
carrying one around on his shoulder now.
If you recall, yeah, he blamed the evil Hammond for all the transgressions,
Right.
which I thought was
So the slate's clean for now. I don't know that he wouldn't fuck up again.
would he bake them brownies?
well. He knows how dangerous they are, so he probably wouldn't screw with them.
Well, but now they're not. So if there's any left on this side, they're not ruining his stuff anymore.
Yeah, but if they help him bring down,
Also, they could have almost one of those like love-hate relationships where they play tricks on
Or
each other. And
Hear me
yeah,
out.
well,
He-
that probably would still
him
go
and
on.
Dale are opening their shop together. They could now work for him, sabotaging his opponents.
maybe,
That's kind of funny.
maybe the little warrior
feels
one
like
with the
a-
squirrel
That feels like
carcass
book 2
shows up.
thing. You know, like
Yeah, it would probably be.
like they're doing corporate espionage, bringing back information and sabotaging other machines.
Can they sabotage other machines anymore though? Like, we need to
Not until the
determine.
veil's back down.
They
Yeah.
can physically do it.
We need to determine what's up with this magic system.
They're still pranksters.
Well, I kind of felt it was
Our-
part of.
Oh, is our team out of work?
I kind of felt like it was part.
They
no,
broke
because
up, I
demons
guess.
still can come here. Because you said that
Okay, so demons can still come here.
or there might be things trapped here.
So
There are
if
things
they're
trapped
trapped here,
here.
they still have
Because
abilities.
the road is the road's closed, but there are people still here.
Well, then
Well, yeah, we knew that they were still here. Then
Well, it
again, our
depends on
team,
how much ability
our
they
team
have.
really didn't have magic except for the ability to shift.
Well, like Karen might be able
and
to
we were
like
going
still
with
use
wares
her.
or descendants of Fae.
Karen might be able to use her spider-like abilities because she's not aware. She is
She's demonic.
right, but she might not be able to use any magic.
Could she ever?
We
Did
never
she?
really
We
said.
never
I
really
think
established.
transforming is part of magic. I mean,
She doesn't transform.
Or-
She's always like that.
always like what?
Joragumo don't transform. It's all there under the dress.
Oh yeah. Well, I was using illusion magic. She was able to transform herself or physically polymorph. I
And
don't
she'd
know.
scare the shit out of that bar owner. But I don't know. Like, it's all stuff to consider, and I think we can come back with some of it next week.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to really hammer down exactly how we want this to work, how much magic, whatever.
I mean,
exists.
we've already got a story written, so we're just going to have to smooth it out at this point.
It does, but we just have to make sure that we know these things so that there's no plot holes
That's what I'm saying.
when we are smoothing it out.
Oh, but the other thing I was saying is I think magic can come back in the Philip and Wilhelm story.
So not even the sequel, just the next little mini story.
Yeah, I think that Wilhelm turns it back on for Philip.
Yeah, I think that Philip's going to have some depression issues.
Right, Philip starts to go into depression, and out of love, Wilhelm goes to the ends of the earth, or Sebulba, to turn it back on.
Yeah,
The place where the gods live here.
right. Yeah, because Philip liked being aware. And I think that Wilhelm is willing to, as much as he wanted to be normal or human, I think that he's willing to trade that in to make Philip happy.
Well, I think we've demonstrated enough, or at least strongly suggested, that he was slowly coming to terms with his warism, and at the final battle, he wanted that. He wanted the ability to be useful to take down Desmond.
Yeah, but I don't think what you said happened. I think that he tries to force the form change or whatever,
Yeah,
and it just
we
doesn't
covered that.
happen.
I think that at that point, in order to protect Philip, he needed his
Right.
his other side.
And that's what all I'm saying is that
He was coming to terms with it.
I think he
that
wants to be aware now because he feels the world needs it.
I think he's okay with being aware now.
I don't know that he wants to. Yeah, like I think that he was coming to terms
Oh,
with
he
it.
won't miss it the way Philip will, but
Right, but now that Philip is so
Well, it's like
feels
Philip
like a
was
piece of
born
him
that
is
way.
lost. Right, and I think that it's one of those things we do for love, right?
So,
I
So-
mean, by we I mean not me, but
yeah, no. I don't like body hair, so I wouldn't
What?
do the wear thing.
oh, I was like,
you could be
what
a
are
wear
you talking about?
wear seal, be like a selkie or something.
Yeah. It's a wear shark,
Go,
maybe. They
go
don't have
find
any
those
hair.
fins in the pond or something. That's probably less hairy.
So, I don't know. All right. We'll pick this up next week.
Yep, sounds good.
All right, guys. Go check us out at the darkandstormynights.begvasirmedia.com. Go or at Twitter at the darkstormyk1. If you're not listening to us there already, check us out at the darkstormynights.podbean.com. We're also on Google Play Music, iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube.
Yep.
All right. We'll see you next time.